You have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something. Your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever.
Stay hungry.
Hungry. Foolish. Stay hungry, stay foolish.
This is the E-Commerce All-Stars podcast, brought to you with heart by Nadimo.com.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining today's show with your host Brandon Moskwa, of course, and today I'm super excited. I've got Shep Hyken on the line. He's customer service expert, New York Times Best Selling author, and an award-winning keynote speaker. I met Shep several years ago, and after I had met him at the conference, I went home and looked him up online and realized that there was a common thread that I had not even really known about, and that was many, many years ago. Well, not too many, I guess. I was at working for someone, and the customer service director of customer service, or customer success, his title was, read us a story about a taxi driver who pulled out all the stops, had AC on a hot day, gave beverages of your choice, and gave you newspapers to read and everything, and he just went over and above on the customer experience. And then I realized later that that was a story that happened to Shep, and Shep spread that story throughout the world. And so ever since then, I've just been even more intrigued with what Shep has to say, and so I'm super excited you're on the show today, so thanks for joining us, Shep.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah. One other thing is we had spent some time at the last conference at the Bare Naked Ladies
It wasn't a Bare Naked Ladies. That's the name of a band. We need to let everybody know Bare Naked Ladies is the name of a band. It wasn't like we went to a conference and there were a bunch of Bare Naked Ladies and Bare Naked Men for that matter, but no, this was the band, and it was fun.
I wanted to throw that out there and see how you responded, because I did the same to Stan Phelps, and he got all
yep, my buddy Stan.
Well, yeah.
That's like the disclaimer. What kind of a conference were those boys at? You know?
No doubt. No, they're a Canadian band, and they were a lot of fun for sure. But speaking of fun, I wanted to talk to you today about something that's right in your wheelhouse. I know you've got a book launch going on the same topic, but I wanted to talk to you about convenience and customer experience and how those two kind of relate, and some of the findings from your book.
Sure. Well, where do you want me to begin? I mean, I can start. I wrote a whole book on it, so we can go on for hours and hours if you like.
Well, you were using some just general examples when I was talking to you about how someone would choose convenience over many other factors. So maybe
sure.
Start there.
Well, and first of all, let's talk about why convenience is even something to be considered, and that is this. I mean, everybody, for I don't know how many years now, several years, customer service and experience has become a huge effort on every company. I mean, even companies that don't provide great service recognize, hey, we better start doing it because our customers are expecting it. And they're not even looking at a competitor to compare you to. They're comparing you to the best company they've ever done business with, and they wonder, why can't you be as good as those people? So number one is customer service and experience has become an expectation, and you're going to teach your people and train your people to be friendly, engage with customers, engage with each other, their internal customers. You're going to teach them technical skills so that they're knowledgeable when the customer talks to them. And these are the expectations that customers have. It's not like, let's do this and we'll be different. No, let's do this and we'll catch up. So I started looking around at what some of the true great companies have been doing. And in some cases, not only disrupting a competitor, but disrupting an entire industry. And I saw that there was something that was obvious to me, and that was that they were more convenient to do business with. And when you look at some of these companies, you'll realize, you know, in some cases, it may cost the same as another one, and they use convenience as a differentiator. But many times, customers are willing to pay more And let's go back to really, I call the convenience revolution started back in Byzantine days. Back in like I don't know, like 500 or so AD, with Justinian the Great, who said there needs to be a store at each corner, major intersection. Now back then the intersections were not for cars, they were for chariots, and they would have a convenience store, more or less, selling life's necessities. And his exact words were interpreted as for the convenience of the citizens. Now, we then jumped to the 1920s, and a company down in Dallas, Texas, an ice company, started selling other items besides just large blocks of ice to put into, an ice box. Back then, we didn't have electric refrigerators. You put a big block of ice into a box, and it kept everything cold for a week, and then you replaced it with another block of ice. And that company turned out to be 7-Eleven, with tens of thousands of convenience stores all over the world. 7-Eleven is the largest, and they recognize how powerful it is to be in the right location so people could stop on the way to work or on the way home from work and pick up, a carton of milk, a loaf of bread, cookies, a snack, or whatever. And guess what? They don't have this selection that the big grocery store has, but they're more convenient and they're more expensive. And think about that, you and I were just staying at a beautiful hotel, Mandalay Bay, at that, it wasn't the Bare Naked Ladies conference, it was the Bare Naked Ladies concert at the IBM conference on artificial intelligence. Anyway, you may have noticed that there in the mini bar was a can of Coca-Cola for $5. And just down the hall, there was a soda machine with the same can of Coca-Cola for $1.25. Yet every single day, there's hotel staff restocking the mini bar in the hotel rooms. And you think about that. It's all about convenience, and people are willing to pay more. Not all the time. Look at Amazon, who to me is the most convenient company in the entire world. Their prices are very, very competitive. As a matter of fact, their value proposition when they first started, when they were just selling books, was let's sell books less than our competitors. The competitors were virtually any bookstore, but the big box competitor at the time was Barnes and Noble, and then there were some others that have since gone out of business. But let's sell it less, and we'll get it to them easier. We'll ship it to them, and that was a great business model, and it works. And today, Amazon does have very, very competitive, if not the low prices, but not always. And they'll even on their website tell you, hey, there's a lower price from another vendor who's in our marketplace if you would rather buy from them instead of direct from us. Talk about transparency, but once again, talk about convenience. We go on a website. Man, if they set it up, once you log in, your information about where you want your items shipped, your credit card information, it stores it. And the next time you go back, anything you buy, it's one click. You click on it, and it just orders it. That's just the tip of the iceberg of what makes Amazon convenient. But anyway, I'm going off on this, and I'm sure you have a couple of thoughts that you want to share yourself, but those are some of the ideas of what convenience is all about.
That makes sense. I actually have a question about it, kind of from the reverse side of things. One of the things that I talk about a lot is convenience. I guess you could call it convenience with respect to the checkout process, and I talk about it more from the word. I use the word friction, and I compare it. I compare it to like make the checkout easy, and then I compare that to like if you're in a Walmart. And I like to use Walmart as an example, not because I have a dislike or a liking for Walmart, but because it almost seems to happen to me every time. But I go into Walmart, I do my shopping, it takes me half an hour to get all my groceries, if not more, but everything's there and it's convenient. However, I then hit the checkout process and I end up standing in a line for what feels like half an hour. And if I had another option, like if I was shopping online, for example, and all of a sudden I've got all my cart full and then I go to the checkout process and it's not convenient, because I've done it online, I'm probably just going to bail on that order and go find someone else.
Right.
Now, do you see any relations to that in what you've researched and that sort of thing at all?
Well, 100%. So, ironically, there are 6 convenience principles that I talk about in the book, and the first principle is reducing friction, which, by the way, every aspect of convenience has something to do with reducing friction, but some companies have said, let's reduce friction so much that we blow away our competition. And I mean, once again, Amazon, the checkout process, or as you like to say up there in Canada, the checkout process.
That's awesome.
We're, that is something that needs to be easy, and as you use the word, frictionless. In other words, every time I go back to certain websites, even though I've been there before, there's no place that I've ever been able to store my information. So I've got to put in the shipping address, which, by the way, is different than my billing address because my office credit card and my home credit card are different. And then there's also remembering the credit card number. Now I got to go put that in. And why can't they make it easy? Why can't they set up the site where it's password protected? And look at what Amazon's done. As I mentioned before, once your information is in there one time and you decide you want an item, click, one click. They even trademarked the phrase, one click. And boom, you get it. Sometimes it's 2 hours later, sometimes it's 2 days later, but you get it. And so, you're talking about the checkout process of checking out of a website, because that's part of what you do. You develop amazing websites. And you use Walmart as an example, or a grocery store. How about yesterday I went to the grocery store, which I seldom do, but I did, and I had like 5 items, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to go through self-service checkout. And I'm getting comfortable with that. I pick up my item, I scan it, it beeps, I put it in the bag, and then I hold my iPhone up to the interface, and I don't even have to take up my credit card anymore. Talk about convenient. And that what they've just done is reduce the one piece of friction that you talked about, standing in a line for 30 minutes. You don't like doing that. And it may not be 30, but it seems like 30. So so Amazon I use as a lead case study to show that every one of the 6 principles, which I'll be happy to share with you in a moment, Amazon has all of them. But the company that I use for the lead case study in reducing friction is a company that it just did so well. They not only reduced the friction, but they actually destroyed an entire industry in the process, and that was Uber. You're familiar with Uber, and there's Lyft, and there's other similar companies. Uber was first to market, and what I love about Uber is they came in and they said, okay, what's tough here? If you don't live in a major metro area where there's taxi cabs going back and forth, and you want a cab or you want ground transportation, you got to pick up the phone and call somebody, and then 20 minutes later you call, where's my cab? I ordered it 20 minutes ago. You said it'd be here in 15. Well, now you've got an app on your phone, and once again you load in all of your information, the credit card information and anything else they need, and now you're set. And you hit the app, and it geolocates you. It knows where you are because your phone knows where it's connected to the world. And you then put in, this is where I want to go, and it tells you how much it's going to cost. And then it tells you how far away your driver is. And then you can watch on the little screen on your phone as the driver makes his way or her way through to you. You've got total control of the situation. And then you sit down in the car, and when it's time to go, you don't even reach in your pocket to pay. No, you just leave. And the trip ends, and Uber automatically bills you for this through your credit card. It doesn't get easier than that, and that is, like, to me, some of the ultimate of reducing friction. And they not only disrupted, a competitor, they disrupted an entire industry.
They did, and to an extreme. And the funny thing, my funny story about Uber is, we don't have it up in the province I live in. They've forbade it. It's not allowed. Now, won't get into that, but I mean, there's a lot of situations like that. But I guess what I'm getting at is, I could not believe its convenience. I basically, the first thing I did when I was down at one of the first conferences was installed the app, filled it all in, and then I tried it on my way to the airport. And I was nervous because it seemed too easy. And then I got out and I'm thinking, well, when do I pay this guy? And I look and it's like, I realize, okay, no, it's all taken care of. You just get in, go, get out, and say bye. And that's it. And it's just the ultimate inconvenience. And it took you a couple minutes in the very beginning to fill in a couple questions, which you would have had to have done, regardless. You'd have had to do it with the taxi cab, for example. but you'd have to do it every time. And like you said, the phone call for the cab and waiting and where are you, and there's no transparency there and everything. So no, I think Uber's an excellent example. What
And
would you? Sorry, go on. You have something to say
I was
there.
going to say, another principle which kind of ties into what we just talked about at Walmart or the grocery store is a second principle in the book is self-service. And what is self-service? I do it myself. I check out myself at the grocery store, and I don't have to wait in that long line. I use Panera Bread, which is a major. Do you have Paneras up there?
Yes.
Great. So they're huge. I don't know how many thousands of units. I know I wrote it in the book. I believe they have over 2,000 locations in North America, and I watched them transform from really a typical go to the counter, order your food, go over and wait till they call your name, and then take it with you, or go sit down at a table. And I watched them transform themselves into a self-service operation. Meaning, and by the way, self-service isn't in any way a bad thing. It's actually a better a customer benefit because they, once again, have control. They gain time back. So I remember the first thing they started doing is they handed you a little, I don't know what you would call it, but like a pager. When you ordered your food, they say, here, take this, go sit down, and it'll light up when it's ready. And then it lights up and you go get your food. Okay, great. Now you don't have to stand around and wait to hear your name. Then they took it to another level. They put little sensors in the tables, and you set your pager on top of the table, and now you don't have to go up. The person who works there brings you the food. And I even said to the manager, so why are you doing this? It's still a big investment. And the exact words were, because it's more convenient for the customer. And then they got better. They added self-serve kiosks where you can go in and order your own food. You don't even have to wait in line anymore, even though they still have people waiting in line. And by the way, everybody thinks, well, they're doing this to cut down on staff. They have just as many staff as they had before, but the staff is now able to deliver a better level of service. As a result, they can bring the food to you. They can interact with you out at the tables, not just from behind the counter. And it's a benefit at every level for the company as well as specifically the customer. Anyway, I cut you off and you had a question.
Actually, I want to talk about that quickly because I would give an example of McDonald's. And the reason I say that is because, I've got a 3-year-old and he likes his Happy Meals. And so the reason I like McDonald's is very similar reasons. I mean, they've added all these customer convenience things. They've the self-serve booths and the table, the things on the tables, exactly what you mentioned. And one of the things I mentioned to my wife recently was, the McDonald's has got something going on because I have seen their level of service go way up over the last little while, whereas if you had a complaint or there was something wrong, they would fix it instantly. They don't ask questions. They just, here's another set of fries, or here's your new drink. Sorry about that, or whatever. But they take care of it, and there's that extra level of service, and you're not having to stand in a long line to get to the person to have your issue resolved either. And you can just walk in and almost walk straight up to somebody or up to one of those booths. And I have seen their customer service levels increase immensely since I've seen these small little changes in the stores, in the restaurants, I should say. But anyhow, yeah, that's just my thoughts on that as well. I was just going to ask you what the 6 principles are. I think you've mentioned. I know you mentioned one, but you may have mentioned 2 when you said self-service.
Well, 2 of them. The first is eliminate friction. Reduce friction any way you can. And as I mentioned, all 6 of the principles. Well, definitely the first one is reducing friction, but the other 5 have some element of reducing friction throughout, because that's what part of convenience is. It's just reducing friction, making it easier, making it hassle-free. Number 2 on the list, as I mentioned, was self-service. Number 3 is technology. And the company that I used, and by the way, I have 5 case studies for each of these, but I have a lead case study, and the lead case study for technology is PayPal. If you've ever used PayPal, it's the easiest way in the world, and now there's Venmo, and of course there's others, but PayPal was one of the leaders, if not the first one to the game, similar to Uber. And you talk about making life easy. I need to get you money fast. I don't have to go to the bank anymore. I just do it like right now. And literally, it takes me, the first time I remember, it took me like 15 minutes because I had to set everything up. And I was a little nervous. And the second time it took me like 5 minutes, and now it takes me under a minute to go on and put your, information in. If I have your email and you're on PayPal, it's done. I get you the money literally instantly. And I think that's a pretty powerful concept, using technology to reduce friction. Another one that is one of my favorite, well, they're all my favorites. They're my babies, and you've experienced it as well, and that's subscription. How a subscription model, many businesses don't believe they can be a subscription model, but boy, subscription is not just receiving a magazine or a newspaper every single day or once a month or whatever. A subscription model, take a look at it. I'll make you a member. Amazon it's a subscription to be a member of their Prime program. Every year you rejoin, but also they now have subscribe and save. If you have a consumable that you use on a regular basis, every 2 weeks you run out of it. Every 2 weeks, like clockwork, Amazon will send you another whatever it is that you're using. You buy a 25-pound bag of dog food every month, where rather than go to the store and haul this thing back to your home, Amazon will just arrange for it to be delivered to your house every month on time. Chewy.com is the same way. The lead case study I have for the subscription model is Netflix. Netflix, for a monthly fee, you get an incredible amount of entertainment. And they've done a great job. They completely disrupted Blockbuster, although Blockbuster kind of disrupted themselves a little bit with some bad business decisions. By the way, the worst being they didn't buy Netflix when it was for sale at about $6 million. I don't know how many billions of dollars it's worth now, but so anyway, you've got subscription, you've got delivery. Delivery is a great one. What we deliver, Amazon delivers. My car dealership that I'm currently buying my cars from, I've now bought, getting ready to buy another car, 3 cars. I was doing business with another dealership for 24 years, and the dealership was about a mile from my office. So on the times, and it was probably about maybe 25% of the time, they could not provide me a loaner car when I dropped my car off. So I would have to figure out somebody pick me up, take me to work. But you know what? I could walk to work because they were a mile away. It wasn't that far. Well, one day I'm driving down the street. My wife says, "Isn't that a beautiful car in the window of another dealership, maybe about 12 miles from where we live?" I said, "Let's stop in there and take a look at it." And I walked in there, looked at it, beautiful car. Somehow the salesperson said, "You can drive it." I drove it. I said, "Here's the problem. You are too far from where I live. I'm not going to buy the car from you. I'm just not going to bring the car in here every time I need it serviced." And the guy says, "Look around. Do you see a waiting room anywhere?" And I looked, and there wasn't. And he says, "Well, we have one, but here's the thing. If you buy a car from us, we deliver the car to you every time you need service. We drop a car off. We pick your car up, and we bring your car back. The next time you come in here will be to buy your next car." And I said, "What does this cost?" He goes, "No different than any other dealership, but that's one of the things we do to make ourselves different." And so he gave me the best deal he could give me, and I went to my old dealership, and I said, "Any chance you'll match this?" Not only did I get a really good price, but the other dealership wouldn't match the service of picking me up and dropping me off, even though I was less than a mile away. And guess who's got my business now? Delivery is a powerful way to differentiate yourself. There's a way for you to get something to a customer. And finally, principle number 6 is access, and that is how close you are to your customers. Similar, but you really don't need to be close, but maybe you just have to have access. What is access? I use a bank as an example where their business hours are longer than an open, beyond the traditional business hours of a bank. It's Huntington Bank. People get off work at 5 o'clock, they go to the bank. What are typical bankers' hours? Between 9 and 5 when people are at work. So if people they have to take time off during the day or go to lunch where it's usually pretty crowded. So Huntington Bank, one of the things they did to differentiate themselves is they opened up on the weekends, they opened longer hours on the weekdays, and they made themselves accessible. Accessible can be hours of operation. It could be, proximity. How many 7-Elevens are there? How many Walmarts are there? The average person, 9 out of 10 people in America live within 15 minutes of a Walmart. I mean, that's pretty amazing. So how are you accessible to your clients? Amazon, 24/7, you can buy off their website. I mean, every one of your clients who's using you for a website is probably thinking, now we're open 24/7.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No.
So those are the 6 convenience strategies.
And you know what I like about those 6 convenience strategies? Every one of them can be applied to, well, I would say to every business.
Not only every business, but a person. It's not just for a business.
Okay.
This is a great story. You've seen, I know you've written a book, haven't you? I think you've written a book.
No, I haven't.
We've talked about it. Well, you're going to write a book one day. And when you do, I hope you have the lucky situation that I had. I was looking for an agent to take my book to shop it to some major publishers. And he read the book and he said, Shep, this is a great book, but there's nothing in here about how an individual can be, you're going to have leadership by this book. And all my other books have been the kind of books where a leader would buy the book and give it a copy of it to the entire company. And I thought, you're absolutely right. So I wrote an extra chapter to show that everything that I've talked about is applicable to an individual working with another individual. Don't make people come to you. You go to them. Don't make people call you. You call them. And, part of that's accessibility. That's reducing friction. Now, if I'm a person that says, hey, part of the deal is when you get me, I check in with you once a month for the next 12 months. Well, that's subscription right there. So all of these principles apply to individuals as well. So I thought that was, the agent was, and I said, gosh, that's great feedback. I went back and I rewrote the book because of him.
This book you rewrote because of him? Or
yeah, this book. I had a finished manuscript. I gave it to him to shop to major publishers, and he comes back. He says, before I do that, I just want to tell you why I think the book is good, but I think it could be better. I think you'll sell a whole lot more, many more copies if individuals can get it, not just somebody that works at a company. So this is, if you're an entrepreneur, if you have a company and you have 5,000 people, this book is applicable to anybody that interacts with anybody inside or outside of the company.
Very interesting. So on that note, then I know you got a pre-launch going on. Do you want to tell people how they can get access to your book?
Sure. Well, thank you for asking that. BeConvenient.com. BeConvenient.com. That's it. Go there and you can pre-purchase the book. Even though it doesn't come out until October of this year, you will instantly receive the ebook free. This is the ebook that is currently on sale at Amazon for $19.95. The hardbound book is $24.95. You buy it now, it will get shipped as soon as it comes out from Amazon or Barnes & Noble or Books A Million, one of the big retailers. And as soon as you do, you'll get a link to be able to download the ebook immediately.
Awesome.
So that's a pretty good deal, yeah.
And for convenience.
You don't have to wait to read the book. Yeah, we make it convenient.
Yes, you do, and I'll make it even more convenient by putting that link right in the show notes. So if anyone's on the site listening to it, they can just click it right now and get over there and get the book for you, for
Thanks.
themselves.
By the way, we chose a convenient, name for the website or the URL. We have the conveniencerevolution.com, but isn't it more convenient just to type in "be convenient"?
Yeah, I would say.
So beconvenient.com.
That's awesome. Well, that's one thing I never did ask you. What is the name of the book?
It's the Convenience Revolution. That's a great.
Okay.
That's the best question you asked all day.
And I ask it last, of course.
No, it's like, well, he's talking about a book. Well, what the heck's the name of the book? You have to wait till the end to find out.
There you go. All right, Shep. Well, thanks for being on the show. I was hoping you could end it with any final words of wisdom, and then once again, how people can get a hold of you.
Sure. Again, if you go to beconvenient.com, you'll find not only information on the book, but also ways to get in touch with me, or just type in my name, Hyken.com, Hyken. But final parting words, I would say this is that, customer service is, as I mentioned early in the interview, it's no longer an option. It's not something that you can just say, you know what, I think we need to be a little bit better. No, you have to be good at it now. It's a standard. It's table stakes. It's what you come to the game with. You can't wait and try to catch up to your competition, because if they get ahead of you on this, they're going to beat you. So recognize any way that you can develop and deliver a better customer service experience it's in your best effort to do so. And if you can add convenience in there, well, that's just an extra piece of it that's going to separate you from your competitors.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show, Shep.
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. I hope to see you at another conference soon featuring Bare Naked Ladies, the band.
Yes, that sounds fantastic. Talk to you soon.
All right, take care, my friend.
You have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something. Your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever.
Stay hungry.
Hungry. Foolish. Stay hungry, stay foolish.
This is the E-Commerce All-Stars podcast, brought to you with heart by Nadimo.com.